What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Fix It Fisher. Today, I have a very special guest with me, my very good friend, Ben. Ben and I met. Hello. Ben and I met in college. We both attended Welch College in Tennessee. I said I wasn't going to give any personal information, but I'll just tell everyone where you went to. All the security questions that would be.
Would be when financial information
when you're logging in. We both went to Welch College together. We actually officially met at UPS loading trucks together. We actually met each other loading trucks before we even realized we both went to the same college. And it was meant to be. We've been good friends. Ben and I, we taught each other a lot of different things when we were in Nashville, Tennessee. Ben taught me how to plug a flat tire, and I taught Ben how to eat a Fat Mo Super Deluxe burger combo in under 10 minutes. It was a real give or take relationship. But Ben he knows at least a little bit about everything, and he knows a lot about a few things. One of those things that he knows about is air conditions. And Ben is the guy, if I have an issue with my unit, and I've had my unit going on 20 years now, it's still hanging on. If I have any issues, I call Ben, because one, I want to make sure I know what's going on and what to expect as far as costs go, so if I have a repair person come by, I'm not going to get gypped. And second, I want to know what I'm talking about so that when the repair guy comes by, I don't look like an idiot. And it is a little chillier today than expected, but your smile will keep me warm, Ben.
It's definitely not air conditioning season.
So, and hopefully this won't cut on while we're talking and make a deafening loud sound.
It might.
And so this unit, as I said, is about 20 years old.
But hey, nothing runs like a train.
Nothing runs like a train except for when it doesn't work. So if we're going to take a look at some of the parts of the unit, and we're going to go over some things that Ben has helped me with, some troubleshooting, some things to really pay attention to if things are messing up, some possible remedies and stuff like that. So I've called Ben before, and Ben, we've had it where I had ice right there. It was just frozen up. So tell me what can cause that. I know it could be several things, but what could cause that, and what are some ways to maybe defrost and things like that?
So a lot of times when we have a copper line, refrigerant line freeze up, it's an indication of the most common problems are low airflow, which can be a problem from a dirty air filter. Someone hasn't changed the air filter, or they've got something restricting airflow, a ductwork collapse or something that's starving the indoor unit from air, or a freon leak, and that will get you, the freon leak will cause the indoor unit to freeze up. And where you saw it out here is actually a symptom of the real problem, and the indoor unit will freeze up at the coil, at the air handler, and the ice will back all the way up, and where it was seen is out here. But for airflow, when your indoor unit freezes up like that, the cheapest and easiest thing to do is first to turn this unit off, and on your thermostat you would take it from cool to off. Okay. And just turn the fan into the on position.
So turn the unit off on the thermostat, but turn the fan from auto to just straight to on.
Right.
Okay.
And what that's going to do is that fan's going to blow your air in your house across that coil and warm that up and start warming these lines back up. And if your problem, in the process of this, check your air filters. If your air filters are 6-8 months old because you never look at them, then change your air filters. Fisher. Yeah. But if it's low on freon, there's really not anything you can do. Before a serviceman can add refrigerant back to your unit, he's going to have the unit back to normal. Okay. And frozen up is not normal.
Right.
So you thawing out your unit and getting it back de-ice is going to save the serviceman time, which if he's billing you per hour is going to save you money.
Awesome.
So
that is what I'm all about, saving money.
Thawing the unit out would be steps in the right direction.
Okay.
Also, in today's smartphone world, take pictures or videos. because if you got something making noise or something, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and sometimes it's easier for a service guy to see a picture of what it was doing than not have anything at all.
And that is absolutely true, because I've contacted Ben before and we've done FaceTime, and I've actually walked around the unit to show him what was going on. I've also had issues before with the unit where you could see like ice inside the unit. Now, was that a result of the same things that you were just talking about? Like, if I see the ice right there, is it likely that my coils, correct? Is it likely that my coils are frozen as well?
The this line right here is going to be an indicator that the line inside your large insulated line is going to be a indicator that you got indoor problems.
Okay.
That your indoor coil is freezing up. If you've got ice out here on your outdoor unit, we see this a lot, most often on heating seasons, and how these air conditioners work is they're just heat movers. They're moving heat from one space to another. You're either, in the summer, you're removing heat from your house and exhausting it outside, or in the winter, you're pulling heat from outside and putting it back in your house. The reason these things ice up is in order to remove heat from 40-degree outside air, the coil temperature actually gets below freezing. Okay. So rain and outdoor humidity will freeze up on these coils, and that their circuit boards, they have what's called a defrost cycle, and it will defrost itself periodically. And so a small initial indication of ice in cool weather shouldn't be any real cause for alarm, but if it stays iced up or your unit's not operating correctly, then it's possible issue. But during heating season only, if this coil out here is iced up and your heat's working fine inside, I wouldn't call it.
One of the biggest signs that I've seen when my unit is messing up is I will just either, whatever my setting is on, if I'm wanting hot air, the air feels cold or there's barely anything coming out. And whenever that happens, it's like a red flag. I'll come out here and 9 times out of 10, I'll have a ball of ice right there, right there. This is probably going to be a stupid question, but when I think of Freon, I think of freezing, I think of cold. But do you need Freon in order for the heat to work in your house as well?
It depends on what kind of system you have.
Okay.
On a heat pump system, absolutely. We have a lot of people have propane furnaces. Those heating systems have no propane or no Freon in them at all. But the heat pump system is the one I just described, where it's pulling heat from the outside air and running it through these lines and warming up your indoor coil, warming up your house. So that absolutely requires Freon. Now, if you had emergency heat strips or electric heat strips, that's electric energy only. So there's no Freon involved in, say, like auxiliary heat or emergency heat.
Okay. And we'll get to that here in a few minutes. I do have a question. When that ball of ice forms right here, I have an outdoor cat. If that cat comes up and starts licking the ice, is that going to hurt the cat? It's a serious question.
I don't have a cat.
That question does not interest Ben. Let's move on. I just don't want my cat to start licking the ice and like grow a second head or like.
Can you video that? Make a YouTube video
on the next Fish or Mutant Cats. Now, Ben, in my own vernacular, I call this the drainage pipe as far as the air conditioned unit goes. And I've noticed sometimes when my unit is messing up that there's no water dripping out of this whatsoever. There's not even moisture coming out. And I've taken my shop vac, I put it up there, I've sucked it out. It does like a gurgling sound, like there's a clog, and then water will start coming out. I've even noticed before when there's water in the garage, which I'll ask you about here in a little bit, I noticed when I've done that kind of stops happening as well. So could you tell me what this pipe is technically called and the purpose that it serves?
You're mostly correct. It's terminology is really hit or miss, but the purpose is the condensate drain pipe. And the purpose is your air conditioner serves 2 purposes in your house. It both lowers the temperature, and second, it removes the humidity. And that humidity is collected in a condensate drain pan, and it drains out of your house through some kind of drainage system. This is yours. It drains out through a condensate drain pipe and just pours on the ground. It's common. Most houses, it just pours out on the ground somewhere.
We used to have a bucket there.
A lot of times it's easier for the installer to follow the refrigeration lines, so you'll see them real close to that. But the point is, if that backs up, it's going to back up, and the condensate will fill up the condensate pan and overflow your unit. And that's where you're getting the mess in the garage, is from backed up condensate from the humidity in your house overflowing in the garage.
Now, when the water's dripping down there, can my cat or chickens drink that water and be okay? Are there any chemicals in it that you would avoid?
Well, chemicals, most likely no. The only chemicals you're going to get in that water is stuff that you've cleaned your indoor coil with, but still, I wouldn't recommend drinking it, no.
Okay.
There's been issues with staph infections and other bacteria that can grow in the indoor air that collects in that water, so
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend it for consumption.
So if I'm working outside, I shouldn't like fill my water bottle up with that?
No.
So Ben, this right here, it looks almost like a locked box, like you'd keep a key in or something like that. And I've seen videos of people talking that you can pull this out right there, flip it over and put it back in. I have not done that because one, I didn't want to mess something up, and two, I really didn't know if it was going to benefit my unit. When would you do something like that?
Fisher, you should never do something like that. The purpose, come here, Brooke, I want to show you. This is called electrical disconnect. We use it for servicing the unit. You see the copper right there? If you look at it, it connects this section to this section, and that's moving electricity from the house. The house will come in on one section and go to the air conditioner on the other section. Two live line wires will come in and come to your unit. I'll pull that if I'm going to service your unit, if I'm going to clean your unit. If I'm going to get in here next to this fan where I don't want it spinning and cutting my fingers off, get in next to moving parts, I'm going to remove this, so it doesn't matter who punches on that thermostat. It's not going to kick this unit on and cause any harm while I'm in here servicing it or working on it. But it is electrical disconnect, and it's not going to benefit you any. Flipping it around puts it in a safe state. It keeps the copper bars from coming in contact with the metal electrical contacts in there, and it just slides in a plastic groove. So flipping it around and inserting it really does nothing but stores it out of the way. Inserting it with the bottom stabs down connects the electrical circuits and brings electricity to your unit. But there's no need to do that other than service activity.
Okay. So now that you've taught me that, am I qualified to do it?
No.
I love how he called Brooke over and not me to show how to do it. All right, let's move on to the garage. All right, so Ben, careful, don't trip over anything. This is the water softener that quit working on us about a month ago.
Okay.
We had the repairman come and look at it, and he started laughing and said he hadn't seen a unit like that in a long time, and it's going to be $3,100 to replace it. And I never buy water softener salt in excess, except for the very last time I bought it. I usually get like 4 bags, just enough to keep it up to here. But I bought like 10, 12 bags of it because it's like, I was thinking, hey, it's not like my water softener is going to completely just stop working. But I'm not mad. Now this part of the air conditioning system, that's the unit out there that we just looked at.
Yep.
What is this technically called?
It's an air handler.
Air handler, okay.
Yeah.
So run through what it actually does.
Air handler takes, first it has a fan in it. It moves air, pulls it through your return in your house, it filters the air. A lot of times that's where we get a lot of people talking about high efficiency filters, HEPA filtration, all the filters. it filters the air, and then it runs it through the air conditioner coil. And the main purpose of this air conditioner coil is just to absorb the heat out of your house. It runs the heat out these Freon lines to your outdoor unit and discharges the heat. That gives us cool air that it blows back into the house, in your vents, gives you your nice cool house.
Okay, now we looked at this outside, and I've had issues before where I've had a bunch of moisture on the ground. It looks basically like water had poured out of it on the ground. What would cause something like that?
Sometimes when we don't run the air conditioner through the winter months, you'll get algae on the inside of this line, and it'll plug up and water will back up in this tray inside the unit, and it'll flood out and come down here. Sometimes the cold water coming in here when it's hot and humid outside and the humidity's real high, that cold water will make this pipe cold, and the humidity from the outside air will condense on the pipe, and you'll see that pipe sweat there too.
Okay, so as far as algae goes, that sounds like that could cause an issue with the system.
Yeah.
So what is a maybe low cost, efficient way of fixing that?
So in a lot of ways, see, you got a drain line here and a trap. This trap is because the drain system is on the low pressure side of the fan, or the side of the fan that sucks air, and that keeps that allows the water to drain out, just like there's a trap under your sink. This keeps the water from backing up into the drain here. A lot of times we'll take a PVC tee and we'll put a cap on it, and you can put like a cap full of bleach or something in there, and that bleach will keep the algae from growing. Heat and Air Supply Houses also sell some little tablets that you can put in there that are algicide. Similar stuff to the pool products that you're going to keep algae from growing in your pool. But the cheapest and most effective way is just pour a cap full of bleach in your drain line up here, and you would have a drain port access here that you could pour it into.
Do you have a pool?
No.
Is it safe for me to have Christmas decorations up there? Will that hurt my air handler?
No.
Okay, so I don't have to worry about anything like that. And the word train is upside down, so does that mean that they put it in upside down?
No, what it probably means is this, a lot of times when you get an air handler from a manufacturer like Trane, they'll offer several different orientations. You can do a upflow, a downflow, a horizontal flow. Like if this was mounted underneath the crawl space of your house, it would probably be a horizontal thing where it would be laying flat and the air would come in the side and exit the side. This application is a downflow, meaning that the air enters the top and flows down through the unit back into the house. Okay. So it's oriented that way because of the application, but you could see it sideways, front ways, upside down. It doesn't mean it's going to operate any less effectively.
And what is this?
It's insulation.
Oh. Okay, so this is my thermostat, and I know this is kind of an old unit, but I don't want the government knowing what I'm doing. Come to think of it. All right, so as we look at the thermostat, I know that we have already talked about how we could turn off the unit up here on the thermostat and then turn the fan on in order to defrost, so we get that. As far as this goes right here, auxiliary heat and emergency heat, what is the difference with that? I notice sometimes if I wake up and maybe I slept with the cool on, and I wake up, it's cold in the house, and I turn the heat on, sometimes that blue light will come on for auxiliary heat. Does that mean that's an extra kick? And what's the difference between that and emergency heat? I know that was a lot of information all in just one question.
So the auxiliary heat and emergency heat are both using the same device, and that's the electric heat strips in your air handler.
Heat strips.
Right.
What do they look like? Because when I think of heat strips, I think of strips of bacon sizzling on a pan and the aroma filling the house.
When your heat pump's running and the temperature in your house gets too cold versus what you have it set on, the auxiliary heat will kick on, and that's kicking on the heat strips in addition to your heat pump to give it a little bit extra so that your house will warm up and then the unit can shut off. Emergency heat is heat strips only, meaning the electric heat's going to run, but your heat pump, your outdoor unit, is not going to run at all, and it's just going to run the heat strips.
And that causes for a higher electric bill, is that correct? Because it's requiring more.
Anytime the heat strips kick on, it's going to consume more electricity.
Okay.
It will kick on and off during normal operation, but if you're running emergency heat only, yeah, it's gonna really jack up your electric bill quite a bit.
Is there any chance that the heat strips smell like bacon?
Maybe if you wrap them in bacon and then engage them.
We know what the next Fix-It Fisher is going to be.
Let's cook bacon on the air handler.
So we've talked about air filters. You said that that is one of the primary causes of issues with an air-conditioned unit. And so to make sure that your filters are clean, and I have not looked at my filters, so you just tell me dirty.
Yeah, I would
Replaceable?
I would replace that.
Okay. Now I have got, this is a 3-month filter, and I have bought these, but I've also bought the 30-day filters that look like a whole bunch of fishing line basically mashed into a square. Which would you recommend for a home? Because it seems to me like the airflow would be a little bit more restricted with something like this.
Right. So what you try, one thing that a lot of new filters have put on is a date change thing.
Mm-hmm.
We use that at our house, and it really helps when you forget how long it's been. You can pull that out, and it will show you when the date you installed it or the date you should change it out. Not air filters didn't used to do that, but they do it now, and that's a handy thing. Also, keep in mind airflow always needs to point into the wall. But this is about the style air filter I use. Sometimes at Lowe's they'll have filtration ratings, HEPA filtration ratings, whatever. What the market tries to sell you on is these HEPA allergen filtration units. These real thick, they're super tight, they're mashed all together, and they take a lot of dirt out of the air. The problem is they clog up very quickly. And so you've got a large family, I've got a large family. When your kids are running in and out of the house, dirt comes with them, and it sucks right up. And if you get a really thick HEPA 99.9 allergen filter, it's going to plug up in like a week.
Okay.
Because really high traffic. And at the end of the day, you want this to keep your air conditioner clean so that it works.
Okay.
Right? So these kind of filters are the best bet for that. The little thin mash ones, they let a lot of dust through, and what you want to prevent is dust from getting in there, because if dust gets in your ductwork, it goes back to your air handler and gets matted up on that indoor coil, and then it gets dirty and becomes a restriction for airflow, and then you freeze up just like what we were talking about on the outdoor unit, the ice coming all the way out to
Right.
the thing. So the chief job of this filter needs to be to keep the dirt out of your ductwork. And for that, this is what I choose for my house. These little white pleated filters, they work great. They're usually fairly cheap, and you can change them out.
So my filter's been approved.
Yeah.
So we just had daylight savings time, and that's a good time to check your filters, right? And also to check your smoke alarms to make sure that everything's working well.
Hey Dad, you wanna put this back up?
No, that thing beeps and makes too much noise. Give it to Joanna to play with. Thank you all for joining us again on Fix It Fisher. A very special thanks to my friend Ben, who is now chowing down on a piece of cold pizza. Easter is coming up. I want to encourage you, if you aren't going already to a Bible-believing church, make an effort to do so. If you're in the Hope Mills, North Carolina area, check out Hope Mills Church of God and my good buddy Wesley Holmes, who's pastor. If you're in the Gretna, Virginia area, check out West End Church of Christ, where my uncle Randy Parker pastors. If you're in the John Island, South Carolina area, check out my very good friend Pastor Stephen Waters at Stone Oaks Baptist Church. And if you're here in the Beaufort, North Carolina area, check out my home church, First Fruitful Baptist Church, Y'all know the pastor, Richard Patterson. He's the one that's been building our goat barn for us, and he's the one that cut open the fish and let my kids eat the fish eggs. So he'll tell you about Jesus, he'll cook you some fish, and then he'll build you a barn. All the links to these churches can be found in the description below. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, comment what you would like to see our next topic be on Fix It Fisher. Thank you for joining us.
Did you give this to Joanna?
Do this condensate drain pipe.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I totally was thinking about how you said I don't have a cat.